Chapter 16. Treasure. The Cubs were reluctant to tell Mr. Keene their secret, lest he feel that they had overstepped themselves in investigating the castle. Robin Hood Strongbox is just a name for a hiding place, Dan explained vaguely. Then one of you boys shot this arrow. The Cubs looked from one to the other. Each boy shook his head. A mysterious archer has been annoying us a bit by shooting arrows during our rehearsals, Mr. Hatfield explained. This shaft looks as if it may have come from his bow. But how did he know about Robin Hood Strongbox? Midge muttered. The guy must be psychic. Either that or he sneaks around listening to our conversations. I'm quite certain this arrow was not lying near my car when I drove into the grounds today, Mr. Keene said. It has been shot in the last hour or so. It's probably a joke, Chips commented. He wished fervently that the bank employee would leave and be done with his prying questions. Once he was out of the way, the Cubs could organize an intensive search. You boys seem to know what is meant by Robin Hood Strongbox. I'd rather think you're trying to keep something from me. There's nothing mysterious about it, Brad said reluctantly, deciding to reveal the hiding place. Robin Hood Strongbox is merely a name we gave to a niche in the fireplace. Inside the castle? Well, yes. Then you have been roaming around inside again. No, we haven't, Brad replied indignantly. We found the hiding place a long time ago. Show it to me, the bank employee requested. The Cubs would have preferred to do their investigating in his absence, but there was no escape. Unwillingly, they walked with him back to the castle. Dan noticed that the broken window had not yet been repaired and remarked about it. I ordered new panes put in, Mr. Keene said. Workmen have been very slow. Rest assured, though, the work will be done no later than tomorrow. I'm quite annoyed to find so much activity hereabouts. The Cubs could have entered through the window, but the bank official would not permit it. Instead, he unlocked the front door. A faint odor of smoke still lingered in the cool, empty rooms, but this Mr. Keene did not notice. Now, show me Robin Hood Strongbox, he directed. I can't believe this message is anything but a joke. Nevertheless, I want to see the hiding place that it is meant. As the Cubs led him towards the massive fireplace, Dan brought up the rear. Glancing from one cub to another, he noticed that Ross was missing from the group. What's become of Ross? The boy whispered to Midge. Why, he was with us when we started for the castle. I thought so. He's wandered off somewhere. Curious to learn what had become of the boy, Dan went to one of the grimy windows and looked out. Ross was not to be seen anywhere on the grounds. Queer, he reflected. I'd have thought ordinary curiosity would have made him come along with the other cubs. No one can tell what Ross will do or where he'll go, Midge said with a shrug. That lad is unpredictable. The Cubs gathered in a half circle about the fireplace. Brad explained to Mr. Keene how the chimney hiding place had been found. Before he could search the niche, the bank employee crouched down and squinted up the dark hole. Nothing here, he announced. You can't see the niche, Brad told him, but if you run your hand up against the wall, you can feel it. Mr. Keene obeyed the instructions. Still nothing here, he declared. He withdrew his arm and brushed cobwebs from his coat sleeve. Well, it's no more than I expected. One and all, the Cubs were disappointed. They had hoped, indeed, had been confident that the surprise awaited them in the niche. Our castle ghost has an unpleasant sense of humor, Midge complained. First, he shoots arrows into the target just to show us how much better he is at archery than us. And now this? Mr. Keene asked the boy several questions concerning the strange person who had appeared from time to time. We think we may have been the one who has started the fire, Brad said. So far, we have no proof. That might be somewhat difficult to obtain at this late date, the bank employee replied. Smiling in a more friendly way, he turned to leave. Come along, boys, he said, as they would have loitered. I want to lock up the house. Mr. Holloway, Mr. Hatfield, and the Cubs followed the bank man to the door. Without being noticed, Dan and Brad held back. Both were unwilling to leave the castle without investigating the chimney niche themselves. Dan ran his hand up the wall, groping carefully about. Nothing there, Brad demanded impatiently. Not a thing, the younger boy replied in disgust. Mr. Keene was right. Say, wait! As Dan spoke, his hand brushed against a tiny object far back in the niche. In an attempt to grasp it, he succeeded in pushing it further back, almost beyond reach. What have you found? Brad asked eagerly. Don't know yet, Dan grunted. My fingers touched something, then whatever it was slipped away from me. At the outside door, Mr. Keene and the Cubs were waiting. Come on, Dad, Midge called. Paying no heed, the boy groped again in the chimney niche. This time he was able to fasten his finger about the object. He could feel its soft covering and something hard inside. Aware that Dan had made a discovery, the other cub quickly returned to the living room. As they gathered about the hearth, the boy brought the object to light. He held tight in his hand was a small leather pouch with a drawstring. It seems Robin Hood's strongbox does have something for us after all, he declared triumphantly. The leather bag evidently had not been long in the niche, for it was only slightly soiled. On either side was stamped strange red and black symbols. Gosh, what do you suppose it contains? Fred demanded. Treasure, I bet. Open it quick, Dan, and pour out the gold. Da 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 da.